joining me now in the studio is Ismail Vali, the CEO of YieldSec. Welcome to the studio.
Katie, lovely to see you again. How are you?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Love this yearly tradition we have.
Very kind of you.
So we've welcomed you into the studio before, and in the last edition you talked about the rising threat of the illegal market. How has that evolved over the past year?
Interesting question. So a very good one again. So we have YieldSec. It's the total marketplace technical intelligence platform. We look at all of the audience, all of their activity, all of the time, everything from above. Okay. So we don't know who you are, but we know where you are in the UK, in Barcelona, and which products you're playing on which sites. How's the marketplace changed in 2024? It's absolutely accelerated in favor of crime again. So we've gone from a market split of around 65-35 into a market split of probably around 71-29, 73-27 now in favor of crime. During 2023, there was $5.1 trillion wagered on illegal gambling sites, 5.1 trillion. Let's put that in context. $5.1 trillion is the world's third largest economy, okay? Just after the USA and China. So we're looking at, and this isn't a shadow enemy or a hidden enemy, this is the business in many ways. The business has come under criminal control. If we look at 2024, we had the year of what we call punting without pause. So there was basically the 2023-24 soccer seasons. There was the Euros, Champions League, that went straight into the Olympics, and then we had Copa and Euros running at the same time. Then you went straight back into the soccer seasons after the Olympics. So there was no pause in that calendar, which you usually have 2 to 3 months when there isn't any soccer betting. 2/3 of the world bet on it. Last year you could bet on it every single week of the year. So during that time, crime got itself very close to things like illegal streaming, very close to products like predictor products, which are coin toss bets on financial app platforms, cryptocurrency platforms, and they got themselves to a place where they were able to meet the audience with illegal streaming, advertise excessively towards them, and convert that audience into customers. So they've gone to $5.7 trillion in wagers last year.
And what's driving this growth? And when we talk about illegal gambling, what does that cover?
So, great question. Illegal gambling is really hard to define because it's all gambling, but is it with an operator who is legal and licensed in the territory they're taking revenue from? So the problem you have with illegal gambling is, from a consumer's eyes, I don't know the difference. I looked on Facebook, I looked on Google, I looked on Instagram, and I ended up betting somewhere. I don't know if they're licensed or not. And it's not a case of the consumer being able to scroll down the page and go, there's a UK Gambling Commission logo, there's a New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement logo. All of that stuff can be copied and spoofed. So how do you know who you're betting with is real? Unless you monitor, police, and enforce the marketplace, which is what YieldSec helps our legal stakeholder clients to achieve, unless you get the removal of crime, consumers will never be able to make good choices. They should have fair, safe, reliable gambling. What they have is a total marketplace that features legal licensed industry, illegal unlicensed criminal industry, and they don't see any difference between those things.
And YieldSec has been expanding its product range to cover illegal streaming. What have you discovered?
So just to correct you on that one, we cover the whole marketplace, so it's not just the illegal part, it's the legal part too. On streaming, we got to streaming how? We took a military platform, we adapted it to work in betting, gaming and lotteries. What were we looking for? Betting and gaming customers, okay? Where were we finding lots of them? On streaming platforms, illegal streaming platforms, because obviously there's an advantage to consumers there in terms of, well, I'm not paying $50 to watch the Tyson Fury fight. Who brings you that footage though? Who sponsors it? Illegal gambling companies, always, always, always. In the last Fury Usyk 2 fight from December, you had to close an average of 16 gambling ads to get to the content, to be able to play it. All of which was brought to you by illegal gambling companies. They compete, illegal gambling companies, for the sponsorship of those events. Gladiator 2, a movie, sponsored by illegal gambling companies, released on illegal streaming 2 weeks before it came out in movie theaters. So this kind of stuff is turning into a new arms race where illegal gaming companies understand we just want any type of content to get us to the biggest audience possible, get that audience as cheaply as possible, because fundamentally they're not just going to make their money on that audience from gambling, they'll make their money on that audience from everything. Tons of other illicit products, financial loans, loads of other things. So the problem with illegal gambling is it's the tip of the spear of crime. It's going to bring more crime as well.
And what crossovers do you see between illegal gambling and illegal streaming? And does this form part of a broader ecosystem of illegal activity? And how far does it go?
Absolutely. Look, Great question, and it's the new arms race, is in this illegal gambling, illegal streaming. What we used to refer to as black market economies, they are part of the digital economy now, okay? So there is a spectrum across the digital economy between legal, licensed, tax-paying, illegal, unlicensed, not tax-paying, and harmful to consumers. If you look at what they're learning lessons, there's a lot of cross-pollination going on between illegal gambling and streaming. Some of the biggest illegal gambling brands in the world have now switched to using what we call a rolling dynamic URL strategy. So every ad you click on Google will take you to a unique URL to get to that website. So you can ban, as a regulator or a government or a justice department, you could ban illegalgambling.com. But you won't be able to catch this strategy unless you use somebody like YieldSec to be able to say, we know that they're using a rolling alphanumeric strategy, pushing audience to new places all the time. So that development, that piece of tech, the rolling dynamic URLs, that came from illegal streaming operators who basically were going, if we run 10,000 people on one server and they all use cheap deals from Amazon Web Services and also from people like Microsoft Azure, if you have 10,000 people watching the Fury fight illegally, Amazon will switch you off because you're not paying them any money. You came on a 30-day free deal kind of thing. So will Microsoft Azure, so will any other hosting company. Cloudflare wouldn't work with you. So you want a load balance. You want to distribute your audience over as many destinations as possible and keep it fairly below the radar. Don't show off too much about the crime you're committing and the money that you're making. So what the illegal gambling's done is go, we need to have this mirror and redirect strategy too. In 2020, when we launched, we were looking at an average of 10 to 15 mirrors and redirects behind every illegal gambling site. It's like Russian dolls. You'd have to keep opening them, there'd be 10 to 15 of those. Now, there's up to 500 of those. So you're constantly going, where is the website? Where is the website? So as a regulator or justice department, it's a difficult job. You need a technical intelligence platform like ours to help you understand where is the crime, how's the audience interacting with it, what harm is it leaving behind, and fundamentally, how much money has it stolen from the societies? Why does YieldSec exist? It's not really to defeat crime, it's to help legal operators make the money they should. Because only when those legal operators make the money they should, does the following happen, the 3 C's of YieldSec. Commerce, community, consumers. Commerce, let's have jobs in the country. Let's have jobs in the jurisdiction. Let's have money being made here. From that money and profitability, what happens? Tax is paid on that money and profitability. That leads to benefits across the community. And consumers, when you win with a legal gambling company, you will get your money. Children are excluded. Self-excluded customers and the vulnerable are excluded and protected. Okay? Responsible gaming is paid for by whom? By the legal industry. The more you let crime in, the more that spectrum of total marketplace goes in favor of crime, you will not have tax, you will not have responsible gaming, you will not have protected consumers, and there will be no child exclusion.
Across multiple markets, we're starting to see a lot more conversations about illegal gambling now, whether that's in the US or across Europe. It's clear that the industry has identified this new competition. Do you think new regulators and governments are taking these warnings seriously?
I think since we launched YieldSec, so going back to 2020 now, okay, we were in development, we launched commercially in 2022. Initially, lots of regulators, I'd say in the Northern Hemisphere, were very unhappy about the things we were saying, because they had what they call a channelization rate, how much of the business is going to the legal spectrum and how much might be going to the black market. We don't use that phrase black market, why? Because it's a name crime gave itself, trying to convince you that there's some benefit here for you, something good for you. So it's not the village market, the high street market, it's the black market. And black's a great color, so let's go for that one. So they're trying to convince you, they gave themselves that label. I'd call them what they are. They are crooks, criminals, okay? It's legal versus illegal in the marketplace spectrum. Regulators in the Northern Hemisphere initially had been resting on the fact that they would be telling the public, telling the government, telling politicians, we're 99% channelized. Really? Because when we look at this, when the system looks at this, we see that there is 90% of the traffic is going to illegal websites. Okay? Most of the consumer behavior, the awareness, ability, and actions that come from that. You're not policing the marketplace effectively because you're just looking at the destinations that you expect crime to be going to. Illegalgambling.com. That's not where it's going to. When you have a world where the audience is being trafficked from social media, from influencer links, from affiliates, from advertising, from all of this online activity, through chat messaging on peer-to-peer platforms, if you're not looking at all of the audience, all their activity, all the time, you will be missing the fact that the biggest elephant in the room is the criminal one.
Wow, I didn't know that about the black market, giving themselves that name. Do you feel illegal gambling operators are being used as a stick to beat the regulated industry with?
I think, look, there's two sides to this. I think the fact that illegal operators exist is being used to beat up the regulators a lot of the time, so the regulators get the blame for it. It's your problem. It's everyone's problem, okay? It's all your money at the end of the day. Legal operators, affiliates, all of the supply chain. Look at the massive supply chain here in this show that exists behind gambling, okay? So if it moves illegally, there is an illegal supply chain there too, who often are unknowingly being tricked into supplying these products through proxy servers and the rest of it. So you need to look at this as a root and branch piece to say, if illegal gambling exists, it exists why? Because all of us, myself included, having been an operator in the early part of my career, we looked at it and went, we don't need to kick out any crime. There's no crime here. Crime has always been here. Crime is always interested in this industry. Why? Because it used to be just interested in money laundering. Now it's interested in the business period because you can make a ton of money from this. So nowadays it's about we have to root and branch, kick the crime out. How do you do that? YieldSec and myself, we obviously built that platform to say identify it, qualify it, so identify what's out there. Qualify it, what is it doing? Is it moving traffic? Is it taking transactions? Is it an advertising source? Is it a spoof site for customers? And then quantify it. Follow the money always. Because when you follow the money, you'll find crime very quickly. Get rid of that crime, we get back our marketplaces, we get back control. And the thing is, we never really took the time to kick that crime out. Something I mentioned last time we met, Katie, was what I call the Las Vegas lesson. So Vegas had the same problem, okay, as a land-based resort in the real world. Vegas went through the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s with a label of mafia involvement. Millions of movies about this stuff. So Vegas had an issue of our reputation is saddled with criminality and the mafia. What do we do about this? And they got to the late 70s, early 80s, and they were seeing a downturn in tourism. People weren't turning up, not the kind of people who'd spend money either. And everybody went, we need to kick crime out now, period, okay? So we had the RICO Act investment, which was basically in America, the development of the Racketeering Enforcement Act. So just talking about crime could get you put in jail for years, even if you hadn't committed it, okay? So existing laws are there to take care of this problem now in places like America and in Europe as well. It's conspiracy cases. If you look at what happened in Vegas, they basically got to a point, society, police, justice, politicians said, we're done with this, we want to change. Once that change was effective, you kick the crime out and you put in place processes to keep it removed. What happens in the 80s? All that Wall Street money rolled into Las Vegas, and we had the development of the resort-based casino as the model for casinos around the world. Went to all the tribal gaming communities, and it went to Macau very successfully. So look at the Vegas lesson, okay? Las Vegas lesson tells you when you kick the crime out, there is more money to be made, there are happier consumers, and you will grow this business as an entertainment sector. If you do not deal with crime now, this problem is going to get worse.